Good evening and welcome to the Star Trek novel discussion board group. Where I am your host, Reginald Barclay Brennan the Third Esquire, and joining me as always is our host, Robert Rodriguez Reginald McCullough the Third. Robert, say hello to the folks.
It's Robert Tiberius McCullough, as you well know. And I'm here for the Gordon Eklund celebration of a life well spent, particularly his 1978 masterpiece, The Starless World. How are you, Butch?
That's right, I'm great. This is Butch. Yeah, tonight we are doing our 7th Star Trek novel in our Journey to Bantam series. Six of which have actually been Bantam books. We took a brief mission to Horatius, which was not Bantam, but it was before all those others, so we had to do it. Otherwise,
and it wasn't half bad either.
And it wasn't half bad either. And I got to say, my initial impression of this one also not half bad. So this is The Starless World by Gordon Eklund, who I believe is a writer. I'm not sure if he's a science fiction writer. I know he's not a scientist. But he is a fan of Edgar Rice Burroughs, as far as I can tell. And Edgar Rice Burroughs wrote books about a hollow world. And that's kind of what we're dealing with here. And I think he mixed up the hollow world that is a Dyson Sphere with the hollow world from Edgar Rice Burroughs, also who wrote John Carter of Mars and the Tarzan books, if you're wondering at home. I of course, I would say I knew that, but instead I had my wife look it up. My wife works at a library. She knows this stuff. So that's funny. We get a little bit of a reference to that, but we'll get there. So this book, 152 pages or thereabouts. It's pretty interesting. They're dealing with a couple different kinds of stellar phenomena in this. Their mission is to study a black hole, and Kirk says, we've already, humanity has charted 58 of these things, and so we're looking at a new one. And while looking at a brand new shiny black hole, what do they come across? Something even rarer, something that was still hypothetical even for them, and that is a Dyson Sphere. Had you ever heard of a Dyson Sphere before this, Rob?
I'm sure. I read this book years ago. Yeah. I did not remember it. So really the first I remember hearing of a Dyson Sphere was earlier this year.
Yeah.
When I was watching The Next Generation, and they had an episode where Scotty's self was caught in a transporter beam on the outside shell of a Dyson Sphere on one of the Next Generation episodes.
Exactly. And if I'm not mistaken, I don't think they ever actually go in the Dyson Sphere in that. Do they? Do they actually go in it?
They go in for a minute. I mean,
okay, there is an inside view, because I mean that'd be a cool visual. I mean, obviously the idea of for those of you paying attention at home, and I know there's a lot of you, a Dyson Sphere is a theoretical object wherein a superiorly advanced civilization takes all the physical matter of an entire solar system, all the planets, asteroids, comets, and all that stuff, and they use it to build an entire shell around the entire star, so that all of the star's solar energy gets absorbed by the insides of the shell. And so, of course, they all live on the inside of the shell. So when they look straight up above their heads, no matter where you are in there, you see the star or their sun right at the top and front and center. It never moves in the sky. You just kind of sit there and stare up at it.
So it's small. It's not the size of a solar system, though, right?
Well, I think the understanding here is that it would be at least the size of Earth's orbit, right? So the idea is Earth's in what's called the Goldilocks zone, right? Not too hot, not too cold. So the solar amount of solar radiation is just perfect for us. Of course, I think. Again, this is where I think Gordon Eklund, God bless him, doesn't really know science. He may be aware of science fiction concepts, but he kind of compared. He's like, golly, this object we're coming upon is even bigger than Jupiter. Well, for crying out loud, it's probably the size of Jupiter's orbit is how big it is. Because
the star is bigger than Jupiter.
Yeah, exactly. And so they do make him think about how it's a mini star and all that stuff, but which we had in the last mission to Horatius, right? Or no, we had that in Planet of Judgment. We had the mini star in Planet of Judgment. So in this case, there's a star at the center, but because on our planet, the reason our planet is habitable is because of two things. One, we're in the Goldilocks zone, which means it's not too hot and it's not too cold. But two, and this is also important, the same side doesn't face the sun at all times, right? If it did,
Right.
the side that
One
faces the
side
sun would be inhospitable, and the other side would be too damn cold.
Inhospitable.
And the nature of a Dyson sphere is that everything is always facing the sun inside there, so it's got to be farther away, or it has a dimmer star or something like that. So it's really big. I mean, we're talking the inside surface area that has got to be like billions of the size of the surface area of the Earth.
Yeah.
At least,
Crazy
maybe trillions. I mean, it's like really unimaginable. And so the idea of the book that they fly in there and immediately find the people that they need to talk to, you couldn't even calculate how much surface area is in there. It would literally take forever to scan it. They say, well, we've been in here for about 15 minutes, and darn it, we've only managed to scan 10% of the interior. I was like, well, that's
my daughter and I were in New Mexico on our epic road trip 2 years ago, and we weren't sure we were going to find people in New Mexico. I mean, we were driving and driving. We drove for over an hour without seeing a car, a house, anything.
That's a big state with a small population. I will definitely give you that.
Yeah.
So that's interesting because that star that's at the center of this Dyson sphere, and that we never get an explanation of who built it, other than vague indications of maybe I was involved. The voice we hear.
But
yeah,
we
go ahead.
totally got it. They totally told us who built it.
All right, so we'll get there then. That's fine.
It doesn't matter.
Oh, that's right. Thank you. Our mission was originally to study this black hole, but they get a little bit hijacked literally in this case, and we meet. And I guess our villain of sorts is Inab. Inab is the sun that lives at the center of the of the.
Well,
Dyson
I
sphere.
think you're getting ahead of yourself. You got any background juice on this? Some deets? Any Butchipedia or
Well, on the novel itself? No, there's not a whole lot written about the novel itself. I will tell you that.
Yeah, you can. I mean, I've seen Kiss lyrics that go more in depth than Wikipedia pages on the Bantam novels.
I think probably if you're going to say who were the last, how many people have read this book in the last year, I'm pretty sure we're part of a pretty small population that's done that. So, yeah, it's interesting because I will say, okay, some of the things I will just say generally about this book. The books we've read so far have been pretty Kirk, Spock, McCoy heavy. And,
I think they've been Spock heavy.
Yeah, very Spock heavy. This one's much lighter on the Spock. There's a little bit of McCoy.
This isn't called the Spockless World.
It'd be the first one we've had. That's right. The one of these.
Spock Messiah, Vulcan, Spock must die. I mean,
yeah. And I will give them props for this. We do get Sulu and Uhura spend a lot of time on the planet. Of those two, we get a lot more about Uhura, which is cool. We see how can we say this delicately? We see a lot more of Uhura. I'll just put it that way. This would be they really should have filmed this one, is what I'm saying. All right, so, but the other people we get to see a lot of is we get to meet some more Klingons. So apparently the Organians have let them out of their bubble again, so that's great. And I think reading this, we learned later on a little bit in the movies and then a lot more in Star Trek The Next Generation about just exactly how this whole Klingon Empire thing works. And I think a lot of it is kind of like, it was pre-imagined here, right? They're talking about Klingons, usurpers, and, a civil war brewing and stuff. That all happens in Next Generation, right?
Yeah.
And so that's kind of interesting that they're kind of building a little bit of actual Klingons the way they're actually going to be in later stories. So that's kind of fun. And we get to meet some Lyrans, and the Lyrans are, let's just say, kind of short, right? 1 meter tall, white fur, kind of chimpanzee-like, I guess they're described as, but a little portlier. And who doesn't like that? I like my chimpanzees portly. They're more fun to hang around with when you know that.
Fun size.
Yeah,
You're describing fun size.
That's exactly right. So they're and one he meets is named Ola, or I wrote down Ole. Did I get the right? So that's kind of which she treats Kirk like her savior / spouse, which is kind of nice.
Yeah, I got the impression she was kind of a Christine 16 from another planet. So
she is literally the youngest person on this planet. So, And again, they keep calling this a planet. It's hard to describe it as a planet. The thing about a Dyson Sphere, I'm sorry if I keep talking about Dyson Spheres. I've read about these a lot in science fiction and kind of like science speculation and stuff like that. It would take artificial gravity because, of course, the gravity in the solar system is built on the sun, and if you're on the interior surface, presumably you're getting sucked into the sun. So there must be gravity on the exterior wall of this to hold you on the inside, so that when you look, you can stand with your feet down and look up and see the star. Right? There has to be, but they say that the skin of this thing is only like 14 kilometers thick, which is not really that thick. So
that's not thick.
But it's really kind of a cool concept, of the idea. And it has Spock a little bit flummoxed because when he first sees it, he's like, I don't understand. And there's no amount of weathering that can create a sphere that's this perfectly round and stuff. And the answer is, well, it was created, of course, so that's fun. And there's
When did Butch, since, I really had never heard of it, as far as I know, until, 6 months ago. Who thought of the Dyson Sphere, and when did that become a thing? Obviously, it's pre-78.
Well, I'm glad you asked. So there is a British-American theoretical and mathematical physicist named Freeman Dyson.
Okay.
And let's see, Freeman Dyson was born in 1923, and he died last year in February. British, and so he was known for his works in quantum field theory, astrophysics, random matrices, mathematical formation, quantum mechanics, condensed matter physics, nuclear physics. Professor Emeritus at the Institute for Advanced Study in Princeton, loser, all that stuff. And so he developed kind of like a theoretical idea of a Dyson, a Dyson tree, which is a hypothetically and genetically engineered plant capable of growing in a comet. The Dyson series, which is a perturbative series in which each term is represented by Feynman diagrams, which I don't think I need to tell you about what that is, and a Dyson sphere, which is a thought experiment, is how this is described, that attempts to explain how a spacefaring civilization might meet its energy requirements. Instead of building energy facilities, like how do you use nuclear fusion, coal, what do you do? Well, instead, why don't you just harness every kilowatt that comes off the sun by capturing all of the sun's solar energy? You could,
and not in the stupid reboot Star Wars way.
Yeah,
but in a way that makes some sense.
Not Star Killer Base is what you're saying. Although it probably looked a little bit like Star Killer Base, is what it would say. So the idea is it captures a large percentage of the power output of a sun, and then that's how the civilization would live. Was there you could power and sustain a huge civilization. Obviously, all that solar energy allows you to grow a lot of food. And so that
you're basically damming the sun. Am I right?
Yeah, that's pretty much it. And it's described as a thought experiment because it really, there's no way to do this. I mean, you'd have to have you think the pyramids had a large work crew? Holy
you think
crap.
The border wall would be tough to actually bring to fruition?
Build that sphere. It's the biggest and greatest and most beautiful sphere. We're gonna keep all those comets out.
No politics.
Some of them, I'm sure, are good snowballs. It's great. So it's an interesting concept, and it's great that they put it in here. The picture on the book, when I looked at it, I did not think that's what it was. And then you look a little closer, I guess that is what that is.
Grab my copy while you're yammering here.
It's like looking through a porthole at the inside of the sphere, and you see kind of like, when you're in an airplane at 30,000 feet and you're looking down and everything's like squares of agriculture and a lake here and there and stuff like that. It's all lined out and planned. This, obviously, a Dyson sphere would be a planned structure. So you would definitely okay, we're going to put the people over here, and we're going to put the mountain range over here.
This looks like a chessboard snow globe on the picture. Is that the same?
Yeah, that's exactly right. You're looking through the hole there and seeing the interior surface. Now, it would be so big. So the idea then is that sometimes it's nighttime there because that plays into the plot a little bit. But the idea is they keep saying, well, yeah, whenever a moon gets between the sun and the surface of the planet, then there's an eclipse, essentially, and that's nighttime. Of course, it doesn't make any sense because what these things are, he's really instead of moons, it should be planets, right? So the idea is if you built, like, take our solar system, if you built this thing at the orbit of Jupiter, right? So it'd be a lot of big surface, and there would be 3 objects between you. Well, 3 plus a whole bunch of asteroids. But the 3 planets that would maybe get in your way are Mercury, Venus, and Earth, right? At some point, they would cross the path of the sun. And Mars, you're right. 4 planets. Thank you, of course. Mars is there, too. But those things, would have to be planet-sized to have any impact on the distance of the solar radiation and stuff like that. But even they wouldn't really. It's kind of an interesting idea, right? So
it wouldn't make night anyway if you're that far out.
And even if it did, I mean, you're still catching reflection off of the entire internal surface of the rest of the thing, right? So all the rest of the surface on the inside of the sphere is always reflecting light at you too. So yeah, there would never be nighttime there. But it's a night. But I get what they're going for. But it's very. I think this is pretty much close to science, to more like science fantasy than science fiction. But Dyson, Freeman Dyson, for all of his scientific knowledge and wherewithal and stuff, this is a thought experiment, which is another way of saying it's fantasy, right?
Yeah.
I had a thought experiment. It was that gray-haired girl from that heavy metal movie. You remember her? Yeah, that's the one I'm talking about. The one with the sword and the loincloth and nothing else. That's the one I had
a thought experiment about. Her name was Paulina Porizkova.
We're talking the same thing. It's just one of them has gray hair and is a cartoon, and the other one's a real girl. That's fine. So, so it's interesting that we have this as a basis. They start off with a black hole, which actually is based in reality, so I think they could have focused on that, but of course, people by 78, science fiction fans knew all about that. They'd have a movie coming out the next year from Disney that would help them if they didn't know about black holes. That would really explain how that's where the devil lives. I knew
less about black holes after I watched that movie. Did you feel the same way?
Yeah, a little bit. I'm not gonna lie, but I knew more about cute little robots with googly eyes.
I had a black hole in my day with 2 hours missing that I'll never get back.
Yeah, but your pants were still pulled up, and that's the important thing. So you had it better than all the. Is it too early to talk about Cosby? Okay. Yeah. Cosby got off today because even though he got off 40 years ago,
that's what got him in trouble.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so we could keep babbling about this, but I think the easiest way to do this is to turn the page and start walking through the story here. How about that?
All right, that sounds good.
All right, so as we open up, Kirk is reading Tolstoy in his room.
I like this kind of a touch. Yeah. I like this kind of stuff in my books, my shows. Yep. I like the little touches, so I thought that was great. I was so happy he was reading War and Peace.
Yeah, so he's reading War and Peace, and we get a little bit of description of it and stuff like this. I've learned a lot there's a lot of TV series and a lot of books. Books especially like to do this. You don't really get the sense. You don't really ever see Kirk reading a book in the series, but he's reading a lot in the books because, it's the medium, and you'd like to think, if you're a writer, you'd like to think, hey, my hero maybe read something that I would write. So,
well, we saw him reading in Star Trek 2, right?
Oh, yes, absolutely. He was reading A Tale of Two Cities in Star Trek 2, which is a book that Spock got him for his birthday.
That's right.
That's right. So I don't know if Spock got him this book for his birthday or whatever. So he's reading in his office when he gets a call from the bridge, and he says, Jesus Christ, Spock, why did you have to interrupt my reading? And they're like, funny you should mention Jesus Christ, because
he's here.
He's in a shuttle, and he says he's in a shuttle and he's headed this way. Shuttle from the lost USS Rickover, a ship that was disappeared some time ago. Although, did we ever get the exact details about how long ago it was?
It was lost 20 years ago.
It wasn't 100 years. We know that. So at least they showed up 20 years after this thing's lost. All right. So then go ahead.
So, but I just wrote. So that's the end of chapter 1, and I wrote. Now that is a great opening chapter. I really enjoyed chapter 1.
Yeah, I think they do a good job of setting this up, and I think the last book also did a good job of setting up its first chapter as well. I mean, you can tell that the writers are getting kind of more into the rhythm. These 2 books, the last 2 books we've done, this one and the Galactic Cesspool, is that the next the book we did last time? Planet of Judgment. No, that's not even it. It was, damn it, what was the last book we did, Rob? I can't find my list.
Dad. Let me see.
Vulcan.
It wasn't Vulcan.
It was Vulcan.
Was
It was Vulcan, of course. Yes, Vulcan was the last book we did, and they both have more of the rhythm of how these are going to work. It's like, they have the idea. Okay, so before the credits roll, you have to have some sort of a cool setup, and it's
set it up like
he
an
says
episode,
he's Jesus
exactly.
Christ. Do 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 do. Right, that's exactly what you're looking for. Something like that. Mystery, missing ship. Kirk doing cool things that a good captain / dad / uncle that visits all the time would do, and stuff like that. He's the kind of uncle that would bring you like the Susan B. Anthony dollar or the Kennedy $50, or God bless you if you ever had the uncle that would bring you the Eisenhower dollar and say, "Hey, I got." No,
he'd be bringing you a stack of Playboys. Hey,
I had that uncle too, but I don't think yet. Kirk's not that guy really.
Okay.
Kirk's not giving away his Playboys, dude. Come on. All right, so. Jesus is a little bit more violent than I think we've read about him. So but he does recognize his old classmate. It turns out him and Jim Kirk were classmates at the academy before he what's the word I'm looking for? Before he merricked out of the academy. Did I get that right? And joined.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Or who was the guy that got jettisoned at Yellow Alert allegedly?
No, that's oh God, why am I drawing a blanket? Ben Finney. Ben Finney's the lieutenant commander, but in this case, he reminded me of John Merrick from Bread and Circuses, the guy who was in the academy but didn't become a starship captain. Instead, he became a freighter captain.
Yeah,
and that's kind of what I
washed
thought about
out.
this. Yeah, exactly, washed out. That's the literal word they used. Didn't have what it
and
takes.
He washed
you know why?
out because his pal Kirk turned him in for cheating.
Yeah. Now I thought that was a little ironic. Okay, I'm just going to say this here. Did he not get a commendation for original thinking?
No, he didn't.
They hadn't really developed that backstory yet. Poof, Kobayashi Maru. That's exactly what happened. So yeah,
you got Kobayashi marooned. He's out.
Woo!
Yeah,
that's pretty clever. All right, so yeah, so anyway, Kirk is perfectly happy to dump that problem once he establishes identity. Dump that problem on Bones.
Didn't they kind of revisit? They had an episode of Next Generation where Wesley had someone he turned in or didn't turn in or whatever too. Remember that?
Yeah, it was in the academy, and they were involved in they were trying to show off at their graduation or whatever, and they tried the Colvard starburst, and one of their shipmates got killed, and so Nick Locarno, a.k.a. Tom Paris, who would later become a main character with a different name on Star Trek Voyager, he turned him in, and he was the son of an admiral, of course, and so that's what how dare you? Don't you know who my dad is? That kind of thing. So yeah, there's a lot of I think, and I'm going to say this, I'm firmly on the camp of if you're in a class and somebody else is like cheating and stuff like that, and that's going to hurt your spot in the graduation order, I say turn them in. That's what I say. Yeah, it's like. If it's just, hey, man, I'm just trying to graduate now, yeah, but I'm trying to get first in the class, and I'm not going to let you break my curve there, buddy. So, but that's just me. So, all right. So, anyway, so now we've dumped this guy's name, by the way, is Thomas. I want to say Thomas Cromwell, but I know that's not right. Thomas
Clayton.
Clayton, thank you. And so he dumps Clayton on Bones and says he's your problem because he's got some other stuff to deal with. Like Sulu has detected a stellar-size object, is what he says. And by
anomaly,
the way,
baby.
And by the way, the stellar-size anomaly, and they have changed course to go towards it, but they didn't do that. It just kind of happened, and they don't really know why. At first, I was thinking it was because it's so big, it's got a lot of gravity, right? But apparently, it's more someone's taking control of the ship. Somebody get Jay on the phone. There's somebody's taking control of the ship, Jay. The Black Freighter of Death is under the control of an alien power of immense power and stuff like that. And soon minds will be taken over, too. That's great.
And why is this book taking place in space? That always happens.
Yeah, and how come they keep slapping themselves in the face? That's what
I don't know.
Yeah. All right, so Clayton then, still in sick bay, under restraints or under guard, gets a message from the divine Inab. Inab is the name of a god that he serves. Apparently, he's Inab's Muhammad or Jesus or whatever.
You mean the one true God?
The one true God. That's right, exactly. And we just know that that's kind of thing. And so he manages to sap Bones I put KO1 for Clayton, and gets to the bridge and falls down on his knees and worships when he sees the object in front of them that he recognizes as either God or the home of God. More mystery. We don't know what that is. We don't even know what it is yet, right?
We're not going to know till Star Trek V. No, I like also how the book describes Spock as having greenish skin. I always like that.
Damn right. It's not, and no Scotty red hair, and no Spock doesn't have reddish skin. He's got greenish skin. That's right, exactly. Although Spock was originally going to have reddish skin. Thank God they didn't go there. So, all right. So Spock then has to apply his logic to an illogical situation. And they can't make heads or tails of the strange planet ahead. And again, I said, somebody pointed out it's bigger than Jupiter, which is an understatement, of course, as we mentioned earlier.
Technically true, though, right?
Yeah, it is definitely technically true. It is bigger than Jupiter. A lot bigger than Jupiter.
It's also larger than a desk.
And it is emitting solar radiation, but just from one spot in there. So, you know how it's, if you're having, ladies and gentlemen, if you're having trouble at home picturing this, what you need to think about is the movie Independence Day, 1996, right? So our good buddy Steve and Dave are in their little two-man ship, and they're flying towards the mothership, which is out in space, somewhere between Earth and the moon. And as they approach, it's a giant ship, literally the size of a continent almost, big, almost as big as the moon. And there's a little teeny tiny hole in there for ships to go in and out. That's essentially what we're talking about, except instead of being like weird shaped, it's perfectly round. But it's got a one-way in and a one-way out, basically, and that is a portal. And all this, and it's emitting solar radiation, so they know there must be like a sun or a star in there, right?
Yeah, and this planet or whatever it is so huge, Butch. It's larger than my friend Jeff's wife, Sharon.
I don't think that's actually true. The way I've heard her described, Rob, I don't think that's true. It's probably close. But yeah, so I'll take your word for it. I'm glad you're keeping that string going. God help her. I hope she's not a delightful person, because you're just so mean.
She's a horrible human being.
All right. Well, anyway, so it turns out...
And I'm quoting Jeff.
It turns out that they figure out that there's a star at the center of that, and that it must be a construct a planet built entirely... For the world is hollow, and you can look up and see the sky. Is what I'm saying, right?
You're describing a Dyson Sphere.
It's a Dyson Sphere. That's right. I have the Dyson Animal Vacuum Cleaner, and so if you're going to get a Dyson Sphere, and the roller ball on it could be described as a Dyson Sphere.
And it sucks those ships right in.
It totally does. A very good suction. So then we get McCoy reminiscing about a book he read as a kid, and so he calls this place Pellucidus or Pellucidus or whatever. And it turns out I looked that up. I said, "Hey Karen, what does Pellucidas mean?" And she says it's Edgar Rice Burroughs, and it's a book.
Wow.
Called that by Edgar Rice Burroughs, and it's about a hollow planet.
Does she work at a library?
Yes, she does. It turns out. Yeah. So, and there's some scientific speculation, why in the world would a civilization build something like that? I mean, if you had such advanced technology, why don't you just get in your warp drive starship and fly away somewhere? Why would you just stay in your solar system? And they're speculating the star's dying, and so the idea is you use the best way to capture all the remaining solar energy out of the star is to completely surround it. And they're like, well, if your star's dying, why don't you just leave? And the answer that they come up with is, well, the Incas didn't have the wheel. They were a fairly advanced civilization, never even developed the wheel. And so that happens. Just because you're advanced doesn't mean you're advanced in everything. Maybe they had a religious reason not to leave their star. Like maybe their star was their god. Who knows?
Maybe they liked that place.
And so that's
I think it's interesting. I like the fact that the inside of the sphere has oceans.
Yeah.
It's like a chessboard. I thought that was cool. It's got mountains. It's got lakes. It's got forests, rivers, all that stuff.
Man, this place has got everything. Yeah, exactly, as Jake Blues once said while driving through a shopping mall. Yeah, so it's pretty cool. And by the way, it's worth noting that after they go in, they find out that they are not alone in there, at least alone in flying around. There is a Klingon battle cruiser inside the Dyson Sphere with them, and so they have a quick confab about that. We get a long...
There's no situation so dire that you cannot make it more dire by adding a Klingon battle cruiser.
That's right. Although as soon as they find it, then they immediately have a very long and droll conversation about haystacks. And that's kind of fun, I guess. And then Kirk gets to lay the verbal smackdown on the Klingon junior officer who's in charge. That's how they know that the commander must be on the surface, because how's this loser in charge of a Klingon battlecruiser this far out?
Yeah, he's a putt.
So the Klingons are down there, which means they have to go down there too, but they're not going to go down there. They're going to beam it far enough away from the Klingons that they can stay hidden from them. So... And so,
yeah, it's kind of like the Apple, right? Where we're going to beam down a couple miles away.
Yep, exactly. So
then further than that, even. But it's Kirk, Uhura, Sulu, and Chapel. Am I right about that?
Yes, Chapel is involved. They don't mention her all the time, but she is there because she ends up there, and I don't remember her beaming down a separate time. So it must have been when they went down. And they go down there, and Kirk and Uhura are enjoying their fruit comparisons, which is always nice. Kirk is like, I don't have room for any more, and I'm sure this is where Jay would chime in and say, yep, he's got to save room for the buffet table, and that's very true. And so they're down there, but they're staying away from the Klingons, and in no time at all, they get into an altercation with a group of 4 of the natives, and also a large carnivore who's trying to eat the small natives. I believe it is a vermicious canid that's after them, if I'm not mistaken, and that they are the distant cousins of Oompa Loompas. That's what I'm saying.
And right before that, JC or TC, as we'll call him, Thomas Clayton.
Yes, thank you.
He had escaped the sphere on the shuttle.
Yes.
That's how they encountered him. And then he was babbling to McCoy about this god Anab,
yes,
and how there is no escape.
Yeah, by the way, you're not going to ever escape, and that's going to come in to play in a little while. By the way, I wrote down Jesus, Thomas, and then Didymus, which is way too obscure of a biblical New Testament reference for you, I'm sure.
Yeah, you lost me on that one.
But he's Thomas, who goes by Jesus, and for shout out to my Christian homies in the audience, Jesus, Thomas, Didymus. Thomas, Didymus means the twin, and some speculated that Jesus had a twin. Anyway, I digress. Okay, so here we are. He tells Bones that the planet is not actually Pellucidor, but it's Lyra. Yeah, that's the other thing he gets, is they get the name of the planet. So now, like you said, Kirk, Uhura, Sulu, and Chapel being down. They meet Ola and friends. The friends quickly run off. Kirk scares a bear, or the vermicious canid, as it were, away, and he gets the "Oh My Hero" treatment from the girl, who, by the way, speaks pretty good English.
Hey, nice to meet you, Kirk. We're married now.
Yes, by the way, you've just declared your fealty to me and plight thee my troth. Let's go.
Kick in the Parasite riff from, Hotter Than Hell.
Let's go make some babies. Let's go make some 4.5 foot tall beige babies.
You know that Kirk thought about it.
Yeah, it says right there she's almost pretty in a kind of a 3 foot tall, albino kind of way. Tilda Swinton kind of vibe. It's all good. And I say that I'm just as pale as Tilda Swinton. So, that's all I'm saying. I certainly should just have thrown myself off the...
Bryce Dallas Howard.
Yeah, there you
go. How about that? Or
That's
whatever her name is.
No, she is she is kind of pretty, so I'm down with that. So, so by the way, Kirk, in a move that is utterly un-Kirkly. You want to talk about characters acting out of character. Kirk is quickly putting her in the friend zone. It's like he's treating her she's like Tamoon or something like that. Koof. That is a very nice name. Well, yeah, you're in the friend zone. You and Ola are in the friend zone. It's all good.
Yeah.
So, but she's going to take him to her village and introduce him around. And she also knows about the Klingons. She has trouble pronouncing that word, and they realize it's probably because she's heard them. She knows their Klingon name for themselves or whatever, because they get the sense that the reason she knows their language is because she must have some sort of telepathy or something, and therefore could probably speak Klingon-y, as it were, to the Klingons and stuff like that.
Which I mean, Chekhov might, and Kirk might be putting her in the friend zone for now, but I will bet you credits to Poitluz that after a week or two, if they just, if you're on a planet long enough, they might be coming back out of the friend zone. I think I don't trust Chekhov or Kirk.
Well, I'll
goes.
push them back on that at the appropriate time as we go through this story. So now they're in the village of Tumara, rather, streets and huts and Lyrans, and they meet Domo, who's a shaman / wise man / got a telescope hanging out of the top of his house. So I guess he's going to interpret the words on the headpiece of the Staff of Ra for them.
You know who I pictured was the creepy guy from Game of Thrones.
Oh,
because they said this guy's short, bald, fat alien.
Oh, so you're talking the spider? Is who you're talking about?
That kind of guy they call the spider. Yeah,
Varys. Yeah. Varys is a great character, by the way. I think he's terrific. Right. And yes, he's a little. I would say he's a little more fleshed out than this guy, but this guy sounds like he's plenty fleshed out. If you get my meaning. So, so they meet him, and they get the story that he says, like, the sun is in charge. By the way, the Klingons are also down there. And they meet the Klingons, and they're pretty well adjusted for Klingons. They point a phaser right at him, a disruptor, and they pull the trigger, and nothing happens. He says, none of this shit works down here. I was just having fun with you, dude. We're not trying to kill you. Nothing. You'll learn soon enough. Domo will tell you. We're just having fun with you. It's all good. And by the way, meet this girl. She, by the way, is my candidate for who he'd be banging if he was down there for much longer, by the way. Princess Kyanna. Kirk is very much a Han Solo guy, right? And so Princess, do I need to draw the line for you? But again, she's still my second pick for who he'd be getting with if he's down there for too long. It's not Kyanna either, and it's not Ola. It goes number 3, Ola, number 2, Kyanna, number 1 is coming up. Okay,
and I thought it was interesting here. So we got a little out of character. You spoke of some out of character Kirk.
Yeah.
Spock says he hates Klingons.
Yep. I never trusted Klingons, and I never will. I believe is the exact words he said.
Yeah, and I was like, what? Wait a minute. Yeah, so I just want to throw that out there. Has nothing to do with anything. Just a little bit out of character.
I'll never forgive them for what they did to that red shirt guy who got whacked by the Klingons. By what's his face? Aka R. No, the other one, Ma'ab, because Ma'ab's was anyway. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Klingon.
I'm off script. That's right, exactly. So Kirk ends up visiting with the Klingons while Spock scoffs at the concept of a sun god for some reason. They're all caught in a trap, basically, is what we learn, including Princess Kyanna, and who's much more Kirk's type, is what I wrote. Yeah. Again, remember, this is pre-bumpy-headed Klingon, so this is more like Kang's wife Klingon, right? With the cool purple and blue eyeshadow.
Right,
yeah, that's what I'm talking about. How can I describe it? She is very beautiful. She's the kind of girl you push up against the hallway in the Enterprise and have your way with.
Very rapeable, this one.
Yes, exactly. That's what Chekhov would say, or rather Chekhov, brother of Pyotr, would say, I guess. All right, so Kiana's also talking about, we get a lot of background on the Klingons here. There's a civil war. There's some usurpers. They're not really interested in conquest. She's got to take care of problems at home. And there's a weapons cache somewhere on this place that she's found, and she was going to be happy to show Kirk the weapons and even share the weapons with Kirk if he helps them figure out a way to get back off this godforsaken ball of a hollow planet. So,
yeah, which is ironic because Kirk offered to show her his love gun also. So that's nice. It's gonna be a little bit of quid pro quo.
Yep. And we also have Kirk ask Spock and Chekhov to look into the dark place prophecy that Domo, the shaman, had told them about. See if you can figure out what the hell he might be talking about, this dark place that they're apparently going to be going to. So that's fun. Spoiler alert. The reader at home should already have this figured out, but they don't tell it to you yet. So Sulu is teaching Ola some card tricks. She's apparently the last and youngest of her kind. They don't make any more of them because they're soon to be gone, right? They're all supposed to be like dead soon, so they're not going to make any more. And she was really hoping to get married and do the things that married people do,
Nag.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she refers to the strangers, and the Clayton appears to be one of them, who
argue about bills.
Yeah. And they're hard to be around. and they only come out at night. Or I'm sorry, I said that wrong. They only come out at night. I'm sorry, that's what I meant to say. Yeah, so those are the strangers. So, yeah. Which do you like? Do you like the Hall & Oates version or the Billy Joel version? I don't know.
Hall & Oates. So I wrote down here. So when did I read this? A month ago?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah. I wrote down McCoy tells Spock a fun riddle. I have no recollection of this riddle. Do you remember it?
Yeah, okay. So there's a long chapter where Spock and McCoy are doing their banter thing. And so they're jabbing at each other. The computer says that the sun might be a conscious entity. Spock just cannot handle that, and McCoy's giving him a hard time for, I thought you and the computers always agreed on everything, Spock. Let me tell you a story. Okay, there's a man and his son, and they're on an island, and there's a monster. And the son is so dependent on his father that he couldn't survive on the island without his father. And the monster's like, tomorrow I'm going to come back and I'm going to eat one of you. You decide. And so who do they decide? And so the obvious answer McCoy thinks is that it's got to be the son, right? Because if the man is eaten, the son's going to die because he can't take care of himself. So the only obvious answer is that it's got to be, and Spock wants to know, where's the mom at? And, it's like, did she get eaten by the monster? And if so, that informs you. And and of course they would have figured out a way to hide and all that stuff. And, blah, blah, blah. I thought it was long and not particularly enjoyable. How about that? It was better than the haystack analogy from earlier, I would say. When they were also talking about, it's got to be farmer because who else would have a haystack? And then Uhura chimes in, well, it's got to be the farmer's wife's, needle because why would a farmer have a needle? It's got to be the woman that's doing the sewing. And it's like, that's right, it was the 70s, wasn't it?
And it turned out it was an automatic milking machine and it won't let go till it gets 10 gallons.
Either way, what bliss. So that whole thing about the father and son thing, I was like, okay, whatever. It was just a device to kind of have them banter back and forth, I guess.
Butch, did you hear the Anthony Jeselnik joke about getting a hand job from a chick with OCD? He said it was the best minute of my life,
and the worst
followed by the worst night.
I was just listening to Anthony Jeselnik on the radio the other day. We should really develop our Anthony Jeselnik podcast.
Yeah, we should. I love
whenever. Yeah, if you want to lose your job, that's the best way to do that, by the way. So that's good. So it turns out Clayton Shanghai's Spock and Bones to the surface somehow. I wrote stupid medic because McCoy put a medic in charge, and the medic clearly fell down on the job and got sapped himself. And
I also don't think you can say Shanghai anymore, but we're gonna. That's the kind of podcast first 10 listeners are gonna get.
Portland has Shanghai tunnels where people used to kidnap people and take them out through the tunnels.
We went to one time we were in Portland. We went to the haunted pizza place.
Yes.
Where people got Shanghaied for reals, and back in the day, and that was fun,
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. My oldest daughter really wanted to go there and planned to do it after she graduated college, and then had a job right after she graduated college, and did not have time to go to the Shanghai tunnels. And we haven't figured out a time since. She was just up here for a week, and we didn't go, so it may never happen. I'm sure they're still there. So it turns out that the strangers, we've heard about them before, and now they kind of figure that the strangers, Clayton might be one of these strangers. We don't know who they are. They're the ones that only come out at night, as we already established. And nighttime on Lyra is pretty short because basically it only happens when there's an eclipse. But they make it sound like that the planets, or the moons they call them, but they're planets, that obscure the sun here are so big that they more than block the disk. So there's not even like a solar eclipse effect here. It just completely blocks it out and it becomes dark enough to sleep. So it's night time, and so they're all asleep or trying to sleep, or some of them are rather. And so Chapel's asleep, and then Uhura is can't sleep because it's too hot or she's nervous or whatever. And so she's reminiscing about a conversation she had with Kirk, and she could see herself maybe in another time having a relationship with Kirk. Wee-oo, this is who he's going to hook up with if they're on the planet too long. I mean, I don't want to say she's making a play for it, but she's clearly been inspired by Ola, who's running around without any clothes on, and she's she's sleeping like, I can't tell if it's completely al fresco or just topless, but they're pretty clear that she's sleeping topless, and now she's walking around the hut topless, and so yeah, this is definitely all designed to get Kirk interested, is what I'm saying. Probably not, but whether it's designed to, that's what it's going to do. So we learned a lot about her background. We, of course, knew that she speaks Swahili because she's African descent, but we learned that she's from Africa. They say Dakar, which I can't remember which country Dakar is in. Damn it! But it's a colony. I want to say Senegal, but I think I might be wrong on that. Her dad was a spaceman, so didn't spend a lot of time there. Her dad was also a Muslim, so that's kind of interesting. So they get a little bit of background on that and stuff like that. And her dad.
And I probably remember this from, maybe it's from like the novelization of Star Trek: The Motion Picture or something. But I remember some Star Trek novels saying that she was from the United States of Africa at some point. Do you remember that? Hearing that?
Well, that would make sense. And by the way, Dakar is the capital of Senegal. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
So, which is in West Africa. So it's on the kind of the coast that has all the little countries around the coastline there. Senegal is one of those.
Thank you again, because I would not have been able to pick out Senegal on a map.
I would not either, but I'm looking it up on the internet right now. And so the idea is clearly at this point, Senegal is one of the United States of Africa, right? So,
and I think they established here, or I wrote down, it sounds like Uhura is about 26 or 27. Is that what you got?
Yeah, I think so. That's about right. Yes, exactly.
So we're talking prime grade A Uhura right now.
Oh, yeah. Again, and Uhura.
This isn't Dance of the Seven Veils, Uhura.
Nichelle Nichols was a beautiful, beautiful woman for sure. Well, she still is, but I mean, back then she was very eye-catching, is what it is. And so, for sure. And so, so she's having a little bit of memory, and she's dreaming. She thinks she's dreaming about her dad. She must be dreaming about her dad because her dad is there now, and she's having a conversation with her dad. And she's naked walking around, and she figures, well, I must be having a dream. So all this kind of makes sense. I had a dream just the other night where literally I'm out somewhere, and then you realize, for Christ's sake, why did I not have pants or underwear on? What am I supposed to do now? It's like you always find it out after it's too late to do anything about it. And it makes perfect sense in a dream. And, of course, she's literally walking around in what she thinks is a dream, but it's actually not there because for some reason, I believe we've established that her dad was in the space service and then never came home one time. We believe that he was on the USS Rickover, and that all these people are from the Rickover, right? These strangers are from the Rickover, and he's one of them. And we're going to learn more about them in a little bit, and her's going to learn a little bit more about this in a bit. Kirk and Sulu run into McCoy and Spock, who have been beamed down, and they made their way to the village. Of course, they had a bit of an altercation with our good friend Thomas Didymus, and so they've escaped, and they're a little bit confused and flustered. They have the security guards have their hut, Chaplin or her have their hut, Sulu and Kirk had their hut, and they've somehow misplaced people. And they go check on Ola, and Ola's fine, but Uhura's gone. And Ola, by the way, is freaking freaked out. She's like, you don't go out at night. What part of we said that the strangers are going to come out? You don't go out at night because that's when the strangers come out.
Yeah. Also, we have learned that this whole kit and caboodle, if you'll pardon the, if you'll allow me to coin a phrase, is headed for a black hole that's 93 hours away. So very suddenly here, we're down to 4 days left. Right. So now the clock's ticking.
Yeah. Oh, that's absolutely true. And I think this is very important. It's absolutely true. Yeah. So what ends up happening then is, unbeknownst to them, while they're learning all this stuff, Kaplan and Chapel KO1, Boggs TKO2, Thomas Didymus took them all out. The Klingons show up for their weapons demonstration, and Kirk tells them to pound sand. He says he doesn't believe Princess Kiana anymore. And then I wrote, don't believe her. Don't be... Anyway, so I could be wrong on that, but that's what I wrote.
Nowhere to run.
So Kirk is off to find Uhura, And Uhura, of course, is following her dad, still in a dream, she thinks. There's a lot of Uhura nostalgia going on, Senegal Islam. And then she's following him down a ladder. And they're going down into this cave, which we'd heard a mention of before. And this cave is where the strangers live. And this is not good. I'm assuming.
And he's like zombie dad, right?
Yeah, he's zombie dad, right? So what's happening, and we're learning this slowly, what's happening is people from the Rickover and people from a whole lot of other races and stuff like that. There's some Vulcans down there and others too. We learn that spacefaring people eventually come there and then are eventually converted over to food for Inab. He starts feeding off their life force, slowly but surely turning them into zombies and shells of their former selves. Because and I'm not. This is where I'm not really clear is if it's their crimes he's doing it for, or Inab's own crimes he's doing it for. Whatever it is, he's taking them with him when he is on his planned descent into the black hole.
When are we doing our Life Force podcast? You remember that film?
Oh, I vaguely remember that film. That's right.
It's just like alien vampire topless.
Oh, well, you're moving it up the list as we speak.
It's got so much nudity. It was a Tobe Hooper film, if I remember. This was in the golden age of VHS just coming out, and so not all the movies that came out on VHS were masterpieces. You had some other ones, but Life Force was one with just a bunch of naked chicks, and they were space vampires. It was just kind of fun, terrible, but we should do that sometime.
That sounds like a good Friday night at Frights, if you ask me.
Yes.
All right, so I think at some point I wrote down something in here about, Cygnus, something. Yeah, because that's where they're headed, essentially, is they're headed into the heart of the black hole. Unlike Dr. Reinhardt, they have no plans to return from the black hole. Inab is taking his self and his strangers and all the people on the planet and all the people that live there, the Lyrans, and he's taking them into the black hole with him to die a horrible, quick death. I suppose it's not horrible. It's just
I don't know. I can never tell if it's going to be a quick death or a terrible death in a black hole. But most importantly, what Uhura said to her zombie father was, "Dad, no."
Thank you.
Dad.
That's important.
Get out of the way.
That's important. So the thing about a death in a black hole is it's like this, Rob. So if you're looking, we do see this, spoiler alert, we see it from the point of view of the Enterprise. It all happens very fast. But if you're in the event horizon of the black hole, it happens interminably slow. Time almost comes to a stop as you're slowly destroyed. It's like the Sarlacc pit, right? As you're slowly digested for 1,000 years. I was like, yeah, I would die in like 80 years. I don't think I have to worry about 1,000, dude. But in this case, you do because your lifetime is stretched out over a long time or whatever. So Kirk gets himself a good solid club, which he couldn't find one of in Arena, but he finds one here because there's lots of plants, and he goes down to fight the living dead. I said in the hole, and so he's Inabbed a little bit, but he's okay. That her was a little bit zapped by Inab. He sucked a little bit of her life force, so she's a little bit kind of zombie, but only for a second. He got there in time. He saved her, and then he comes up, and then all you zombies are piling onto him. But who saves his life? But Ola, debt repaid. We've balanced the books, and now maybe I guess Kirk figures they don't have to get married anymore now that they've each saved each other's life now. Maybe.
Well, I think Ola cracked zombie Uhura's dad in the head with a rock.
That's exactly what happened, right? So it wasn't going to be Uhura. He's not really her dad anymore, right? That's the important thing. Is that it's not really her dad. It's not your dad anymore. Is what it is. All right. But the important thing is they then Domo is kind of pissed to find out Domo, our shaman, has talked to Inab. They said, yeah, by the way, we know it's going to be in 93 hours or whatever. And Domo's like, oh no, I would have found out by now if it was. So apparently he asked, and apparently he was told that. And now apparently he's like, oh yeah, well, up your butt, Jobu, then, or up your butt, Inab. I'm switching teams. You hear me?
Up your sphere with a... Yeah.
Up your ear, in your ear with a metal sphere. That's the one you were looking for. All right, so then there's
Tyson with a rapey Mike Tyson. Oh,
So then we get no Cosby jokes. All right. So then we get Ola somehow is the one who teaches them how to do some quick mental contact with a god. And then we have, Inab apparently punishes the people for the sins of their dead ancestors, and Kirk isn't having that. So Kirk has a long heart-to-heart with Inab, which I'm not going to lie, I zoned out a little bit on. End of the book, I'm like, I always at the end of the book, I'm like, okay, skip it. It's like the author's like, oh, I carefully crafted every word in this section because it explains it all, and I was like, I just don't have it.
Yeah, my notes for these chapters are like a line for each chapter.
So the important thing is that they let the Enterprise go, and the Klingons for that matter, and all the Lyrans, or is it just Ola? I cannot be sure. Domo maybe they're not. The only one we definitely know is on the Enterprise is Ola, and they're taking her somewhere else. And they're gonna, where they're gonna leave her with? They're gonna deliver. Hey, your new best friend is Shauna. Enjoy, Shauna. This is your new best friend Ola. You guys can hang out together.
Oh.
You know what I'm talking about with Shauna, right? She's like,
yeah,
I will wait and watch the lights in the sky and wait for your return. And he's like, hey, I came back, and guess what? I brought your friend. Anyway, bye.
One of the great bikinis in Star Trek history.
Oh, yes, we were looking at that today for sure. So, so the Klingons going to get, because, again, their kind of ruse was up. So Ola has a future somewhere else. The Klingons are going to get lost, and Kirk and Spock are going to end this book playing a game of chess. Chess it is.
And the Dyson Sphere did, in fact, go into the black hole.
Yeah, they don't lovingly describe that. It's like, it happened really quick. It's like, gone. Okay, well, that's nice. But that's about how, if you're trying to get rid of a Dyson Sphere, there's really only two ways to do it. First of all, the simplest and easiest way is supernova that star inside. That would do it. But if you don't have a star that's going to supernova, then you can definitely take care of it by putting it in a black hole.
Yeah, I wrote the Dyson Sphere went in the black hole. The Klingons left. Ola will be relocated, and Uhura will be just fine. That's what I wrote for her.
And she's going to wear a bra when she sleeps from now on, or at least a nightshirt, for crying out loud. Look, I'm okay with a nightshirt that covers that doesn't cover the belly button. I'm okay with that. But come on, even for me, I was like, really sleeping in the nude, really? I mean, I'm cool with that. I'm imagining that. I'm closing my eyes and thinking about it. But come on, man, it seems a little unlikely. Chapel's right there. And then maybe you're going, yeah, but maybe everybody's not a prude anymore. Maybe they're just kind of like, no, it's in the 23rd century, we're not ashamed of our bodies, like we're not ashamed of our skin
color. All I know is I was missing a sock at the end of that chapter. I don't know what happened.
Booyah! All right, well, so that's how the book ends. I thought it was, other than the kind of like a little bit confusing when Kirk talks to God again, and not for the last time either, by the way.
I thought it was a little confusing when Spock said he got a telepathic message from Inab from inside the black hole saying they're fine.
Yeah, well, yeah, we're fine. We're with the Palomino guys, and it's all good. We're all good here. How are you? Yeah. No, don't come down. There's a radiation leak. Very bad. All right. So we got to rank these now.
Yeah. I thought it was a good story. I did. I enjoyed it.
Yeah. I'm going to forgive them I'm going to forgive our good friend Gordon Eklund on not being able to figure out a Dyson Sphere. I mean, I know a lot about them because I've read a lot about them, but there's been a lot more written about them than probably he had access to in 78. Discover Magazine has talked about them at least 3 times over the years I've been a subscriber. So, I've seen diagrams and all that stuff. So I'm going to cut him some slack and say it's okay he didn't get it. He leaned on Edgar Rice Burroughs for an explanation, and that's what you had to do in 78. But, it's all good work. By the way, Edgar Rice Burroughs also wrote The Land That Time Forgot, if you did not know, which is a movie that I remember when I was a kid about these guys that get in a drill machine and they drill down deep into the earth and they find the earth is hollow and there's dinosaurs and people that live down there or whatever in the land that time forgot. So, yeah.
So that obviously had an impact on the god-awful Kong versus Godzilla movie that came out earlier this year.
Yep, absolutely.
Where you can go to the center of the earth and then just climb out in 5 minutes. Because you're a big monkey. Anyway, I like this. How'd you have it ranked? So we've done 7 so far.
Yeah, I'm trying to do it here.
I'll give you mine because I can see your tallying. Yeah. Number 7, The Price of the Phoenix.
Yep.
luckily, if they're going to do a sequel to any of these books, I'm sure they won't pick the Phoenix novel. Am I right, Butch? Number 6, Spock Must Die. Number 5, Planet of Judgment. Was that the first one?
That was the first one, yeah.
Yeah. So, our 1,000 Years of No Klingons. But still fun. I enjoyed that one because I like the behind enemy lines for 6 months business and all that stuff. Number 4, Spock Messiah. Spock, they call him Mr. Speed. He's banging cocktail waitresses. That was fun. Number 3, I have it number 3, The Starless World. So I've got it in the top half of what we have done. Number 2, Mission to Horatius, and number 1, Vulcan.
Yes, we're pretty close. So we're the same on 3 of them. So I have Phoenix. I have Phoenix at number 7, and then I have Spock Must Die at 6, and then I reversed the order. I have Messiah at 5 and Judgment at 4. So I reversed the order there, and then I reversed the order on 3 and 2. I have Horatius at 3, Starless World at 2. Because again, I dig that they're going for the sci-fi concept of the Dyson Sphere. Horatius is really more just kind of like we're just visiting 3 Earth-like worlds in the same solar system. They're not nearly as science fiction-y in that book as this one is, and even though he gets it wrong, I'm going to give credit for it. And then Vulcan is, I think, the best story so far.
Yeah, so. I think the top 3 all feel like Star Trek episodes.
Yeah. And they're the last 3 that we've done, and I can't think that that's a mistake, honestly. Although we should have, if we're going to do them in the order in which they were written, Horatius should have been first. But we did it 5th, and so the last 3 books that we've done are like the 3 best. So I can't wait to read book 8. And I hear that book 8 is awesome. So next up, ladies and gentlemen, on our Odyssey through the Journey of Bantam is Trek to Mad World.
Do you know what Trek to Mad World is famous for?
Mad World.
It is the first Star Trek novel I ever read. Really?
The first one you ever read? I was Entropy Effect for me. Because it had a Klingon battle cruiser on the cover, so I'm at the bookstore. That's the one I'm buying, baby. But yeah, I don't think I was familiar with Trek to Mad World, but it's on my shelf as I speak, waiting to be perused.
The Entropy Effect was awesome. I remember that being a good book.
Well, we're going to get there because eventually we're going to run out of Bantam books, and then we still have all these other novels to read. So.
And then we'll never get through all that.
No, and boy, should we? Someday in 2072, we're going to be reading like Voyager novelizations and stuff like that. We're not going to do that, but it's fine.
No, we are.
But yeah. So we do have a little over 100 like TOS Star Trek novels to go through, of which I remember I stopped reading them at about 56, if I remember correctly. I think Doctor's Orders or something like that was like my last one.
And I've got some. I'm up. I've got like I think most of like the first 50, but the later ones are harder to. I don't know. I just have never come across most of them, so I'll be like 87, 96, like. But I think they went up to around 100 and then just quit numbering them, right? Is that about right?
Yeah, well, that's right. And I honestly do not think they still write TOS novels. I think they moved.
They do.
Do they?
They do. They just don't number them. It'll say the original series. Yeah, they've got new ones coming out.
Because I know at some point they start in like 88. They started writing TNG novels and then DS9 novels and then Voyager novels and they probably have Enterprise novels and then God damn all of them. Then they start writing novels that are based on none of the series. They come up with a new ship and a new crew, and they start following
engineers
them around.
And all that
You're
stuff.
Like, alrighty, that's when you know.
I just bought a new original series novel like last month.
Wow!
And it was brand new at Barnes & Noble. I have not read it, and I may never read it, but I did purchase it.
So listen, before we sign off, I have to talk a little bit about a phenomenon that I think you probably are aware of, and that is what is considered canon. So my son and I were talking about Star Wars and canon, and the idea is when Disney purchased the rights to Star Wars, they decanonized all of the comic books and the TV series that had existed before, the animated TV series that existed, and all the novels. And a lot of the fans are like, we're pissed off that the prequels or the sequels, they didn't do Vice Admiral Thrawn and the Dark Force Rising or whatever, the Ashes of Empire, whatever it is, all these other novels. And I said, I tell my son, look, my friend Rob and I read Star Trek novels religiously. when we were in school. Back when that was the only new Star Trek there was Star Trek novels. We read them, we liked them, we adored them, we podcast about them.
Glorious.
They are not canon. The novels are not canon because they can't all be canon because they don't agree with each other. They're not.
Right,
they're not plotted out.
Spock,
yeah,
right.
But they're fun stories. But you can't go, well, they showed this in this TV show, but we know that that's wrong because Planet of Judgment, because Spock Must Die clearly said the Klingons are in stasis for 1,000 years. So therefore, we know the Klingons can't exist in Star Trek: The Motion Picture because it's canon. So I like the novels, but they are a fun, side thing. But they are not. We do not consider them as important in terms of telling the story of Star Trek as a continuous story as the TV series and the movie are.
And frankly, I don't personally consider the Kelvin universe stuff as actual canon either. Well, I like it; it's fun, but it's not.
It turns out it's an alternate universe, so it doesn't have to. It really, you can say they don't exist in the same universe. So they borrowed a character from the universe, and then they moved it on over, as George Thorogood would say. Moved it on over. Yeah. So I believe you're correct in that when saying that they're not the same universe, and hence they can be canon, but they're in two different universes, so it doesn't really matter, right? The idea of canon is it's a single shared universe, right? So anyway, so I'm sorry for that digression.
They're more apocryphal, right? Would you say they're apocryphal?
That's exactly the word to use, right? It's a story, but it does not inform the actual story. It might add details in your own mind, but I will never consider, no matter how much I like some of the stories I've read in the Star Trek novels, I will never consider them equal to or greater than anything that was on screen in the original 79 episodes or in any of the original 6 movies. So those all take miles more precedence over anything than does any of the novels, as much as I like the novels. And I'm sure there were some novels that, as story goes, I like better than some of the stories on the episodes.
Absolutely. But the nice thing is your son can pick what he wants to, like about Star Wars and what to him is canon or not. Fuck Disney. That's what I'm saying.
And that is all so true, of course. So, all right. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for us tonight. And we've already spoiled the next episode that we're going to do. Our next book, which will be book 8, will be the aforementioned Trek to Mad World. So join us again, if you will, for another Journey to Bantam.